Again, we can trick these plants into doing certain things that we want them to do, like the potatoes, where we trick them into setting a whole bunch of tubers early in the season. And then after that, we just make sure all those tubers grow maximum. So, or in the later part of the season, a lot of fruits to get them to be sweeter. We'll pull the water off of them. Then that plant takes all of its energy, instead of putting any more energy into leaves and all of that, it puts all of its energy into the fruit to make sure that it continues the process of procreation of its particular species. And in that process, we can get really sweet fruit, sweeter fruit. Yes, Karen?
What happens to potatoes when they get the bumps on them?
Question is, potatoes, when they get those bumps on them, what causes that? Well, that is from irregular growth, usually caused by days where they get stressed. Stress will cause a reduction in growth, or excessive fertilizer and water will cause it to grow bigger.
Wouldn't they all be almost parallel to like setting more tubers out when you say?
Or, yeah, if you get a knob on it, when the potato goes into stress, it'll put a side tuber on because of the fact that it wants to create another tuber because it thinks it's going to die. Kind of a thought process.
Are white spots on the skin caused by excess water?
White spots on the skin on potatoes, I don't know the answer to that. Can't answer that one. Sounds like a pathogen, actually.
I was told. I can't remember what it was.
White rot, huh? Sounds good.
The question is Bermuda grass.
Question?
Does it grow like in long strands?
Yeah, Bermuda grass. Question was about Bermuda grass, and it is a rhizome crop. It grows as the root just keeps growing, and it'll run roots underground, rhizomes, and feelers on the surface as rhizomes. And how you get rid of Bermuda grass is selectively kill everything. You have to virtually sterilize the area to kill it.
It's the first one to die, though.
Yeah.
When you stop watering, that's always the Bermudas are the first ones to die off.
No, when you stop watering, Bermuda will be it's the one that'll be the most aggressive. It'll go, and everything else dies. It will really grow in a stress condition where the others won't.
Won't it die like in the winter time?
On Bermuda grass in the wintertime, it doesn't die. It just goes into dormancy. It looks like it's dead, but it still has life in those rhizomes. And next spring, when you get enough heat units, it'll take off again, and boy, it'll just flourish. Yeah, all the leaves will go off of it effectively, and it just looks like straw laying out there in the wintertime. But in the spring, that'll all turn green again. Well, summer. It doesn't really kick in until it gets hot. Then when it gets hot, then it'll pick up and go again and set a whole bunch of new leaves on, and away it goes. Mike.
Okay, like this summer, it got really hot, and I think like my grass went dormant.
Mm-hmm.
But I've watered and it just never came back. Is that what?
Question was, it got really hot. The grass went dormant. He tried to water it back, and it wouldn't come back. Well, you probably didn't water it enough. So yeah, oftentimes if you don't have a really good system on lawn, you go out and take your hose and drag a sprinkler around. What you think is enough water may not even come close. And so you really need to monitor. And one of the tricks with a home lawn, go out and take a pan and just set it out in the grass when you're irrigating and see just exactly how much water you really are applying. Because during that time period that you're running the sprinklers, the pan will start to fill up. And you'll be able to tell how much you applied at that exact spot in the lawn. It'll give you an idea of what you're applying around the lawn. Now, a lot of people will go out and they'll set their sprinkler for 15 minutes and then move it, and 15 minutes and move it, and that may be about a quarter of enough water. I've watched people, a lot of older people used to go out and hand water their lawns, and you still see them in this town. There's lots of old people that will go out with their hose and they stand there and water the lawn. They put their hand over the end of it and they're just spraying the grass. And they'll walk along and spray the grass. And they're out there for 15, 20 minutes and water their whole front yard. Well, they didn't put enough water on to do any more than cool it off. You know, that water never even penetrated into the ground. They put so little on over the full expanse that they piddled with. You know, you gotta let that water sit there and run for a while. I mean, out here in agriculture, we'll set that water for, on a wheel line, at least 12 hours in one spot. In a lot of times, sometimes 24 hours. And that's good enough for the next 10 days, and we got to get back and do it again. So 15 minutes out there sprinkling the top of your lawn is just a teaser. I mean, it is literally a teaser. And you can check that in turf because you don't have to check very deep. You just take your spade. You take a shovel and put your shovel in the ground and turn it. Just bend it forward and see if it's moist down through that profile. Because that's about all the deeper you need to worry about, is how far a shovel goes in. Even a small one. You don't need the full-size shovel. You can get one of the small-size shovels. That's deep enough. You go down 6 inches, you don't need to dig a big old chunk of it out. Just put your shovel in the ground and tip the blade forward and look and see how it looks. Now, if you see a brown spot somewhere, you know, you never are sure with a brown spot. What caused the brown spot? Is it insect damage? Is it other kind of pathogen like a fungus? Or is it too dry? Well, the dry test is real simple. You go out there and put your shovel in the ground, step on it, turn it back, and well, if you can't step on it and push it in the ground, it's probably too dry to begin with. Because a lot of these soils around here are heavy enough that if it's dry, it's hard to push the shovel in. If it's wet, it's real easy to push the shovel in. But go ahead, put your shovel in and tip it back and test it.